Kicking this off, man. Yeah, dude, this is awesome. We got to do this sick ass shirt of my crazy dirty dog, and this is really cool, man. I make all my merch. We run screens. Me and my friend Chris Sattel. Everything that's ever been bought by my company from day one, before in the Strange Band, is actually made by us. We buy shirts and products and print them ourselves. So I've never let anyone else make merch for me. So I was so stoked. I love your guys' stuff, and you guys have shirts that make me laugh, similar to, I guess, a lot of things on the internet these days that brighten your days. But I've had some pretty awesome ones, man. And you make good stuff. Like, I love t-shirts that are like the shirt I'm wearing now. No one has. This is a really cool dude made the shirt, and it's for Memphis, and it's like
Yeah, I was looking at
the,
that.
the Kiss logo with the blue. It's for the Tigers too, which is a team in Memphis. But like, I just like printing, man. Growing up as a punk kid, DIY kid, like, screen printing is awesome, and I love it because it's like, dude, we're going back to the OG presses, man. This is like where you control what you make, and no one can control that. And
Well,
yeah, thanks for liking my stuff and making a fucking shirt with my face on it. It's kind of funny and weird, but awesome, and I love it.
yeah, man. I mean, I think a lot of country and outlaw fans, people in the scene now that are our age, did come from punk,
Oh,
right?
dude,
So we're
so
going
many of
back to
us.
doing it.
Well,
And
like, Nick Shoulders was a punk. Willie Carlisle was a punk. Vince Neil Emerson can skateboard. Like, I mean,
yeah, it's
the
very
list
clear.
goes on, dude. Most of us were weird kids in weird towns, loving traditional country, but we weren't always like, you know, that's I see the biggest, like, little soapbox I have in my show that I really care about is, like, I want shit kickers and cowboys, and they should never have to fight or feel like they don't belong in the same room with each other, and that stuff happens. Like, we build these walls for ourselves with genres or cultures, and like, man, just because, like, George Jones didn't wear a stud jacket, don't think he didn't respect people that did what they stood up for, because he was there when the genre started. Like, actually, like, to be there at the forefront of a genre. Those outlaw cowboys saw all those outlaw punk rock kids, and that they didn't never hated on them. There's a reason, because, like, it takes just as much balls to stand up in cowboy boots on stage and play as it does to have people throw bottles at you in a basement. So, I mean, that's,
Well, I mean, G.G. Allen
yeah.
made a country record, you know?
He did. He did. But the thing is, like, he also, wrote lots of really deep stuff tucked into his weird, sad music. Because, when I fall hard. Like, I mean, he has lyrics that are heartbreaking that talk about, like, his self disposition and the dislike of himself as a person. And if you look into the history and the shit he grew up with and had to deal with, he had a great mom, but his dad was a fucking psychopath. I mean,
His name is Jesus Christ.
his real
Yeah.
name is because his dad was going to kill him to save the world. And his mother had to take him and his brother and hide them away when they were kids, because his dad was going to literally kill him. Like, I mean, the dude and he was pretty fucking normal till he's in his 20s. I don't defend a lot of shit he did, but he loved my family. He showed a lot of love for my family. There's a very famous picture that I have in my house that's signed by his brother, of him sitting on Hank Williams' grave. That was given to me
Yeah.
by Merle. And,
I've seen that picture.
yeah, I have a big blown up photo one that Merle made and gave to me that he signed. That's very sweet, actually. Here, I'm going. Since you can see right
Oh,
here, I actually have a letter, actually, as well, written by GG to Anti-Scene, back in the the early '90s, and I, as well, that is a picture signed by Mr. Merle Allen right there. But yeah, man, I love GG Allen. There's a lot of things I care about with him. I do not support violent acts against anyone. That is one thing that's a little different. But what he did as an artist and wrote music, like, I definitely saw a lot in that. I do a cover of Fuck Authority that I like to play, because amongst the curse words, there's these really, really, really deep, deep parts of that song. Like, there are just heartbreaking lyrics in that song. Like, it's not just him talking shit about the police or saying that, like, he hates authority, or like, you should do something. It's like, just, you have to stand up for yourself in your own way. And, like, he told it in a really gross package, but, like, he really did say that, like, don't ever trust authorities, pigs, parents, or society. Like, like that's straight up. He's just saying, like, don't let the cops make you live in fear. Don't do something because your parents made you, or don't do it because you're scared you're going to get in trouble. Because if you live your life like that, you're probably not going to get to do much.
Well, I
And
mean, a lot of the American music, I think, comes down to that what you just said. I mean,
yeah,
if it's country or punk or blues or rock and roll, a lot of it's the same
well,
inherent American. I'm not gonna do that because I
yeah.
don't want to.
Well, dude, look at Rick James when he started his career. Rick James would get chased out of towns just because the dude smoked weed. There would literally be groups of scary, terrifying fucking assholes that kind of chase him out of town. And he'd walk out smoking a joint and be like, "Yeah, we're not going anywhere." Like, like, I mean, because he didn't care. And that wasn't the basis of his brand. But because of that one thing, people wouldn't let the man who played great music play music. It's like, fuck, man. Like, it's like, people are always going to mess with people. And G.G. Allen, of course, people are going, oh, he's a pedophile and he's violent. And it's like, dude, if you break down every famous musician, we can burn them all. Like,
Well, that's what I tell people. They're like, they'll be
well, like
bitching about
everyone.
Elvis, and it's like,
Okay,
well, I
he's
mean, then you
one.
can't listen to the
There's a whole
Stones,
list of,
man.
and here's the thing, like Elvis definitely was a thief, 100%. Bad person? No, he was not a bad person, and I love his music. I have Lucille, his ankle gun, tattooed on my fucking
Bro,
arm.
if
I
if
love it.
he if
But
he
he
didn't do
wasn't
it,
perfect at all, and he did some bad shit. But most country artists and most famous people in general, I don't care what your genre is, have done some fucked up shit. That's not new. That's not weird. That's not off the beaten trail. Like most of them, I mean, Jerry Lee Lewis got way more punished for the stuff he did, and Elvis was doing the same thing. It's pick and choose when you get punished by that stuff back in the day, and I do believe,
still is a
it,
lot of the
well,
time.
that always will be, because there's always going to be naysayers and there's always going to be people that have problems inherently, as long as you're not hurting other people and you're not doing something that's, monstrous. Most people will find a justification for you, and you know, in that same song, like I said, with like authority, there are really pretty lyrics. Like, if you live nothing, you are nothing, dissolved by stagnating masses. Like, that is a beautiful line, and G.G. Allen wrote that line. Like, he wrote that. He wrote a beautiful, like, if you took the whole rest of that song away and took out the fuck word, if you live nothing, you are nothing, dissolved by the stagnating masses. That is a beautiful line. I mean, I went to college for English. I went to
So
school.
did
That's
I.
what, yes, sir. And I love it. Dude, I went to school because I love books and I got to read books and I did what I wanted. And, I didn't stop working in education until I was in my mid 20s. I mean, it just financially in my state, the money you make as a teacher is very hard in the state of Tennessee. It is really, really low. And getting started, I was just so discouraged by it. I ran
Well,
my own businesses. I ran liquor stores for years, and I made tons more money than I did. But my education in literature, like, is the greatest thing I ever wanted to do. I'm one of the only people in my family to try to go to college ever. Like, and it's because I learned a lot of stuff there and I fell in love with words. I'm a poet, man. Like, I don't say that in a weird way either. I love words. Words are like why I make music. It is how I can express words that I like to write with tones and honky music. Like that's what I do. Like, I love words. And for me, telling weird stories, like, I identify Blaze Foley, one of Michael Fuller, the angel of Austin, Texas. The words that man said were heartbreaking, and he got beat up by Kinky Friedman because he made a song about Idi Amin, and he got to be there. And he's like, if you go up there and you play that song, I'm gonna beat you off that stage. And he walked up there with a big old goofy grin on his face. And the first song he tried to play was about Idi Amin, and Kinky Friedman, honest to God, punched him in the face and dragged him off and banned him from ACL. And he had to dress up and sneak in there. Like, after that, but and half the music about that man is, If I Could Only Fly, the song he sold, of course, Clay Pigeons, which also John Prine covered, but the man wrote very controversial songs. He wrote songs. My favorite Blaze Foley song in the world is a secret track called I Want to Go Home with an Armadillo. And it is the sweetest, goofiest, dirtiest 2 minutes of a country song in the world. And the chorus is, and I want to go home with an armadillo with my cowboy pole. And he's talking about his wiener, but he's
yeah.
being poetic about it. He's just trying to, like, talk about something that he likes and something that like it's sad because he's saying that he's ugly, and he's saying that the only way he can go home with someone is to go home with somebody ugly as he is. But the thing about that is, like, Blaze Foley was a real cowboy. He hung out with Townes Van Zandt and inspired half of the Texas music scene for 20 years, and he got murdered and didn't even get to see it happen. And that man literally didn't even have an apartment that he lived in until the last year of his life. After 5 years, he was living in bars, living on the streets, because he thought that job would ruin his creative process. And I love, like, for me, he was a poet. He may not have a poet laureate award. He may not be talked about at college universities, but that man loved words, and he wrote words that are heartbreaking. He wrote things written together like, in Cold, Cold World, randomly, he starts complaining about daylight savings. And I've always thought that is one of the most country things in the world for the Duct Tape Messiah. Was that he just bitches about in the middle of this sad song. It's a regular good old cowboy song. He's saying he hates the world, and he's like, and what's going on with this daylight savings thing? Like, and it's like, just my grandfather has a song that's just like that, where he uses lifesavers to try to say he's trying to use lifesavers to get off of cigarettes. And I love that so much, because I really think, to use a word like that, that's so real and natural. Working people, real people, can hear that and understand what that means. Like,
Well,
like, if you're complaining about being on a jet, and a lot of people end up doing this in music, where it's like you have problems that people can't connect with. But if you say these things that, like, hit people, that's how you strike that gold, and your brand, I think, gets it. Like, you make shirts for a lot of people whose writing I love. Like, they're just like outlaws in a way, because they write stuff that got them in trouble. They did stuff that got them in trouble, but they made music that broke. Johnny Paycheck. You make really cool Johnny Paycheck shirts. Fucking Old Violin, which he did at the end of his career. To this day, if I hear that song, I will cry. And it is because he's talking about himself. And it's so sad because of how he died without a penny to his name. And George Jones had to pay to bury him. And, like, but the man was a genius. And people forget, like, before he was singing, he played in almost every major country band before he was Johnny Paycheck and performed. He worked with all of the legends, and he
there's a
did
lot
that
of pictures of him in the background.
yeah, man, he did that for such a long time before he put himself in the front. And when he put himself in the front, people wanted to focus on, well, he's crackhead, or he's, it's like, okay, man, I get it. You want to pick on somebody for that one thing, it's fine, man. But it's like, you got to respect this guy, because, like, at the end of his career, he was still writing poetic bangers. Like, Old Violin is the saddest, most heartbreaking. Like, he's talking about picking up this old instrument and seeing all the years on it, and then you realize he's like, oh God, and then he dies, like, right after that. It's just like, Jesus
Well,
Christ.
have you
Like,
seen that video of him? It's on YouTube. It's called I think it's Paycheck and the Hawk,
uh-huh.
right? And there's that part in that he's singing Sharon Reg, which is a great song, and I like his acoustic version a ton there. And I wish there was a whole thing of it, but he
Oh, same as, like,
says that line, "If I'm the real Johnny Paycheck, I'll die."
yep,
Because real Johnny Paycheck is some kind of like a wild, crazy man.
dude,
In in
it's
the
just like those
eyes.
George Jones videos. Remember that old George Jones video where he's singing "Take Me" by himself? He's drinking a Budweiser and shows Shel
Yeah,
Silverstein fucking catching scorpions in a pool.
I
Like,
love that
like,
video.
well, that's just that was the national scene back in the day. They were all hanging out here, and I mean, that was that was the scene. But, like, you see these people when they're not on stage covered in rhinestones, and you see, like, these real, like, same as that one. He says, "Oh, that's a real pretty one," and you see how
Hmm.
sad he is, because it's about how much he wants to be with someone that will never be with him for the rest of
I
his
mean,
life. Like,
that's one of the things
like,
with David Allen Coe I find a lot is if I watch his
heartbreak.
interviews, watch him talk,
Yeah.
because he became a character to a lot of people, right?
Well,
And a lot of people become characters. Hunter Thompson became a character from the
well, not
Doonesbury
even to
comic.
mention the wig. I mean, yeah, man. You talk about a character. I mean, you get to a
Yeah, but
character where you can't even let people see who you really are.
I mean, I got
That's
these
the basis.
glasses.
To be honest, like, Sam, that's the basis of what I do. Is that I am me. I am no character. Four in the Strange Band. Four is my band stage name to be my character when I play on a stage. But as a living human being, I've created something, and I want to do it not on anyone else's arches, because it's wrong. Like, like, for me, like, I care about making sounds and doing stuff, but I do not do this because of where I come from. Because if you do that, you don't have an identity yourself. Like, every day as a kid, I was told by 1,000 people that would find this out about me and then instantly treat me different, who knew me for years and then would act like I'm a different person, even if you knew me 5 years before, and put this expectation on me. Or let's hear a song. It's like, do you realize that what if your dad died and you never heard your dad's voice ever? And the only way you could hear your dead dad's voice is you could listen to it through the radio. And then you don't ever think about that little boy. And people don't ever think about that with my grandfather. People don't ever think about that with my father that never
Well,
knew his
especially
grandfather.
because I mean,
You know, like,
it's Bocephus. It's another
well,
character, right?
that's the old that was originally made to make fun of him, man. Like, do you know what Bocephus was? Bocephus
Like,
was a puppet on television.
mhm.
Like, and like people used to mock my grandfather. My grandfather toured since he was 6 years old. He's still touring right now. Released
He
his
was
first
great.
blues
Saw him
album
last
last
summer.
year,
Whew,
worked his ass off, and he buried his wife last year
I
and
know.
did all that. Like, if you're a real entertainer, and people still, I have people that come up to me at shows and they say, I love your work, man. Love your dad. Love your great grandpa. Hate your grandpa. And, who the hell would tell a person that they hate somebody's grandpa? And I get it, but it's like my grandfather is one of the longest working musicians in history. And no
Bro,
one
I
can ever
saw.
take that from him, ever. And the thing is, like, no one cared until he stopped trying to be his dad. And it's so funny because, like, and that was 20 long years. I mean, he talks about this, man. He was put into something and didn't even understand what was happening until he was a grown man. And then, not even 10 years into it, he almost dies in a horrible accident and realizes, I can't do this because I have to be me. And then he was entertainer of the year for over a decade. One of the only people in history that's ever done that, like in the country world. And like, that's not even the first one. Like, so it's like people are going to make you characters. People are going to put you in things. When I started doing this, everyone wanted to tell me that I had done something. Oh, how could I even try all this? I could never do it better. And that's why I don't try to. If you come see my shows, you can see me cover a country band. You can see me cover the Melvins. You can see me play 22 songs me and my bandmates wrote. But I do not play my family songs on my stage because I think it's disrespectful because there's no way I could do it better. Anyone that does it in my family, I completely and totally get it, and it's their right to do that. But personally, as me as an artist, the only reason that I do this is because it's fun. I enjoy it. I love the DIY music scene. I love seeing punks come to country shows. I love seeing cowboys come to shit kicking bars that are not cowboy bars, that are punk rock bars, come to support me, and a protective space for all types of people, and still come out and be country, but to see that those weird punks are people, to see that queer kids that love country are people, like to support all types of people. Like for me, like that's why I do this as an identity. What I care about is like there is no war amongst people. We need to be there for each other. And like, I think the blend, like I don't do different shows. I do one show of my weird honky country music, and then I do some songs. We use a soft tech cab, but it's not, there's no line. I like to say I'm doing a cohesive idea. I've spent over 500 shows in all 48 connected states making that happen in the past 3 years on the road. And, I've been working on doing this now for 5 years. And I came to it because patience is important. And if you do something, if you want to do something, you cannot do it because someone else told you to do it. Or even if every day you were showed why you should do it, because if that doesn't make it real. My great grandfather, whose name was not even Hank Williams, Hiram, however you want to say it, he was a man that built his dreams. He was sick when he was young and had nothing. And he built a style in a time of Western swing that was different and unique and iconic, and didn't even live long enough to enjoy it because when he became an entertainer, people didn't listen to him as a person because there's a fine line there. It's the same thing as Bocephus. Most people don't even know my grandfather, my living grandfather's real name. Like because, and that's the thing, because it's not Hank. And yes,
It
that is
never
his
is.
identity, that's his birthright, that is in his name, but that's not his name. And most people don't do. It's my father, same thing. My father is a very real name, and anyone that's ever loved or actually knew my father knows my father's name, and it's not Hank. And that's the thing. Like I just don't want to pretend to be a character. You can be a character, and that's great. And some people are like, oh, well, you don't love your family. It's like, cool. I didn't know you get to tell me I don't love my family, because if I really love my family, not imitating them because I know that they are the one. is the greatest respect I could ever show. Because for me, like, I play songs on the day he died and his birthday, and I do it for me. And every once in a while, I'll put one up here on social media. I don't play those on my shows because I really do, in my personal opinion, feel like that is like reaching into his grave, pulling his grave dirt off his grave and rubbing it on my face to make people clap for me. And I think that's disgusting. And Johnny Paycheck didn't do that. Blaze Foley didn't do that. John Prine didn't do that. Towns Van Zandt did not do that. And my father and my grandfather did not become who they were. If you think of Hank 3, you do not think of Hank 3 because he impersonated Hank Williams.
I think
If
it's
you
straight
think
to
of
hell.
if you think of Hank Williams Jr., Bo Cephas, whatever you want to call him, if you think of my grandfather, you do not immediately think, oh yeah, he did the best Hank Williams version covers ever did. No, no, you think of the songs that he wrote about it, like my
Like
new
a
record.
weatherman.
Well, exactly, man. That's what I'm saying. It's like, and I love those songs because that's like, man, that's my Ken doing this beautiful song. That's amazing. But it doesn't, I don't hear it and I'm like, man, I can't wait to sing that song. Like, because like I can hear them do it and it's beautiful and it's an expressive feeling. And like all the famous work that they've done is their work. But for some reason, if you look at both of their careers, they had to start not doing that. Both of them. Both of
Right.
them. My father's first record's entirely Hank Williams covers. My grandfather, bless his heart, his first 20 albums, that's all people. He was a child, man. He was a child. Like, and he said it, I mean, he said it better 1,000 times in 1,000 interviews. He didn't even understand what was happening because he wasn't getting that money, man. He's like the original kid that got Frankie Muniz. I mean, that was him. Like, I mean, it's just people forget that we're regular people that love music and care about what we do. But I personally think, like I said, the greatest thing anyone in my bloodline ever did was their own work off their own thoughts and dreams. Like, my Uncle Sam has a beautiful voice. Junior's youngest child. He has a beautiful voice, but most of the foundation, he does a lot of cover songs, but I like his music. I think his record's great. He has no reason to keep doing that. If he wants to do it, heck yeah, keep doing it, man. But I like his songs. Like, like it's just like, and he's younger than me. He's technically my uncle, and I'm older than him. But, that's just life, man. Like, you find it yourself, and he loves it and makes him happy. And I get that. But if I did that, man, as the firstborn or the fourth generation of the Hank Williams family, I would feel disgusting. I would feel like I'm spitting in my great grandfather's face and wanting a handshake because, like, my father was so proud of me when I wanted to go to school. So was my grandfather, living my own life, being my own person. I found music and loved music. I was in punk and metal bands in high school and I cared about it and it meant the world to me, the music scene. But the second that people knew who I was musically or random people, they all wanted to say what I would do and it ruined it for me. It made me not want to do it. I got into welding. I traveled and I became an oogle and I just traveled and I didn't want to be around people. And it made me actually hate people for a while.
Well,
And
you were telling me from like a young age,
well, it's
like a child, like record labels were coming to you,
well, not
you
like,
know.
well, not even that, man. That's when I'm a kid, when I'm an adult. My family is not monstrous. It would never do that to me. This is
Okay.
so, no, you misconstrue me there, buddy. But
Okay.
let me say,
That's
like,
what.
by the time I turned legal, people started paying attention to me. Or when Son of
Uh,
Sam came out, Curb Records was one of the first people that tried to reach out to me. I'm not even going to talk to those people. And that was a single. Like the intro to Son of Sin, man, I made in a closet on a cell phone. I wrote that song 15 years ago, easily 15 years ago, and played it for me, by myself, for me, or on the streets for to get money. Like that's the only reason I played that song, and that song was my comfort to myself. And when I brought it back with wonderful people I started the band with, who, in this business, you don't end up with the same people. I've rebuilt my band a ton of times. Now I have the best musicians I think I could ever ask for. I didn't even have a steel player starting off. Now I have a kid that he's played steel for me for a year. I couldn't even hear my music without it there, but it's a journey, and I found it and I earned it, because like I said, man, if I had to stand in front of my great grandfather, the man he was, and he asked, well, who are you and what'd you do? And I'd say, I'm your great grandson. I did a lot of things in my life, but about fourth in would be about music because I talk about the things I've overcame in my own life. The sickness I dealt with when I was young, just like he did. The things I had to do to be my own man. I protected my friends. I loved the people I cared about. And then I found music through those people I loved and I cared about, like the DIY scene. Like, like growing up as a kid, punk rock shows for me were so important to me. We had so many cool clubs in Nashville when I was younger that were not places you bought a ticket. They were made by musicians that kids could go to all ages and see real music, man. And all of them are gone because of the gentrification in Nashville. They're all gone.
Same with DC. All the places I used to go don't. I went back recently. I was like, oh, even the real venues are gone. This place, Rock and Roll Hotel.
Yeah. Well, like they rebuilt Black Cat, rebuilt the 930 Club. It's not even the same building,
It's
like,
not. I mean,
and Nashville's the same thing. The Exit Inn is a Live Nation venue now. I played one of the last independent shows there last year when Southern Circus came out. Like,
Live Nation kills me.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
I think they're wrecking a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it more than I see it.
Well, there's like 4 venues that are independent that are left in town, like, maybe 5, like, and every other one is either you play cover music or it's the Live Nation venue.
I mean, in Cincinnati, there's one. It's Music Hall.
I love Cincinnati, man. The music scene there, of course, in Arlen McKinley, there's great musicians that have came out of that area, dude. And his cousin Logan Ledger is my good buddy. Logan Halstead. Ugh. Logan Halstead is my good buddy, and Logan Halstead's his first cousin. We played, like, one of the first shows I played when I met Shooter. Yeah, when I met Shooter, actually, when he came and saw me play in West Virginia a few years ago. That was a show I was playing with Logan and Drayton Farley. That was a great show for W.B. Walker's birthday. That was really fun. Like, that's what I'm saying, man. Is like, you have to earn it your own way and find it your own way. But when you play music and you build a character, it'll become your character. But when you start your career, you kind of have to, like, pick what your character is. And my character is me. Like, when I'm on stage with my band, it's Foreign and Strange Band. If you ever see me play by myself, I always have and always will. Coleman Williams is my band, like, as myself. If I'm playing by myself, I'm myself. If I'm with my band, it's Foreign and Strange Band, because that's just my stage identity with my band. It also gives me the freedom to do it my own way. And I mean, my dad, my whole life, grew up calling me C4. He always has. Never asked him why. That's just what he did. And like every birthday card, every Christmas card, and
sounds cool.
Well, 4 is a homage to that. Like, I said that today on the interview I did last week with Ray's Rowdy. Like, 4 is 3 bars, man. Like, Roman numerals are original numbers. That's IV. That's 2 together. I don't need to sing Hank 3 songs to tell my dad I love him more than anyone in this world, because, like, 3 bars, IV is the same thing. You're just putting 2 together. Like, that's my love to my dad, because I love my dad. I don't need to go up on stage and pretend to be my dad to show my dad I love him. My father has never played a Hank Williams Jr. song on the stage. And that's what I'm saying is, like, if you want to show your family you love them, I don't have to do that in front of people. And that doesn't mean I love my family at all if I did it for a million people. Like, so my stage is about me. My blood, yeah, that's a thing in there. But, like, any great outlaw, any of the people you're making shirts, hats, anything for, they don't do this because they had to. They don't do this because they were told to do it and built to do it. Like, most of these people were built to die and fail and became heroes for people that have nothing. Working man's people, working woman's people, people that have nothing. I've seen people that come up to me and tell me how much they love those songs. And when they look at me with love in their face and they try to be nice to me and they tell me, won't you play that song? And I say no. And they instantly tell me to eat shit and fuck you. And how do you not love your family? And the reason is because they want me to pretend to be someone I'm not for them.
Right.
And if I could call myself an outlaw, even for one day in my life, which I don't, because I respect the word actually a lot. Recently, in the past few years, it seems people want to start picking on outlaws. And, Woody Guthrie wrote it best. Wherever you may wander and wherever you may roam, there will never be an outlaw to take a family from their home. Like, outlaw culture goes back to the 50s and even farther. And anyone that wants to say outlaws hurt people, or outlaws are the people that cause problems in country, are fools. The people that cause problems in country are the people that own country. Outlaws.
There's a murder on Music Row, George Strait.
Well, just that's what I'm saying. But and imagine, like, beyond, like, think of the people that there's a 2-story Apple store on the corner by Legends Corner down there. There are 10 bars down there that don't play country songs in bars.
And I never go to Broadway.
there's only man you can go there. It was always it was always fun when I was younger, man. I mean, I spent my 21st birthday there. There's cool stuff you can do, but now, man, like I mean, the level of people throwing trash on the streets and disrespecting it. You see people. I mean, I remember about a year ago, I was at Roberts and saw someone literally pissing in the corner because they didn't want to wait for the bathroom, peeing on the floor that my family built with every other generational musician that has family there. And it's like, okay, you're going to come here and get the brag you drank at Roberts, but you're going to piss on the floor and disrespect a place that the floor is actually the original fucking floor that all these people walked on and dreamed on. And, like, there's always been people partying in there, but it's like now it's to a level where you have to walk into a room with 700 people every time you go there.
It's not the real. They think
Well,
they're doing a thing.
Roberts is one of the few places that's doing it right. Roberts pays local
Oh, I mean
musicians.
the
Like,
people in there, not the
well, no,
actual owners.
as a club, they were there before all those clubs.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and when Layla showed up, Layla still halfway does it right, but Roberts has been there from day one. Tootsie's does their best, but it's just so insane in there. But Roberts is, that place has been there. That place will always be there. That place has supported musicians like from my friend Todd Daywait to Brennan Lee to people that get to play on that stage. I've sang on the Roberts stage. When my friend Timbo Lowe uh, does shows there, there's very few people. Like I said, I take them very seriously, man. There's very few people that I will sing family songs with. But Timbo Lowe is one of my favorite local country musicians, and Timbo has worked the music scene longer than I ever had. Like, he's started so young and worked so hard, and he's one of my good friends, and I will sing songs with Timbo because Timbo is not asking me to do that because I am Hank Williams' great grandson. He's asking me to do that because he likes me and he loves those songs and he doesn't want to sing them in front of me, which I do get. I do understand that. And that's nice, but I think he does far better version than even I ever could. Because, like I said, man, the best version is going to be Hank Williams. The best version of Weatherman, it's going to be Hank Williams Jr. singing Weatherman. The best version of Straight to Hell, it's going to be my daddy straight to hell. Like, and maybe one day people can say that about any of my work. Because at the end of the day, man, like, I do those for me. If I ever do those, and most people that ask you to do that, they're not asking me to do it for me. They're asking me to do it for them. And that's all fine and great. But like I said, people forget that's our family. And I do say that sternly, with love to every person that does, but they forget those things. They forget those are living, breathing people. They are not people that are commodities or checkpoints or anything for us. They are our family. Like, when I was a kid and realized how many people sang about him and didn't even know him, how much it meant to me that these people loved him so much. But the funny part is they didn't even. But the thing is, neither did any of us. Like, he was so young, he was begging for help, and no one helped him, and they clapped him into the grave. Like,
I mean,
he
I was
broke.
telling you how, for me, like a lot of my introduction to country music in general was senior, then your dad straight
Yeah.
to hell, and then your grandpa, and
Well,
that's
just
true for a lot of
think
people,
about
man.
this, man. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
27.
Think about this. In 2 years, you'd be dead if you were my great grandfather.
I think about that all the
Yeah,
time.
and not just that. I'm 32 years old. I'm 33 in May. I am 3 years older than my great grandfather.
Right. And for
And
so
not, and
many people,
like, and people forget, like, oh, I didn't know he was 20. It's like, of course you didn't know because you never looked into his actual life. Or like his most famous songs, like, we do this now. I say this all the time. One of the biggest problems in the music scene, and labels are always going to be there. That's just not a battle you're going to win. But um, we see people that ask for help and they play their music and they're doing great, but they're asking for help and they die, and we're like, how does that happen? Or I love, like, Norm Macdonald is one of my favorite comedians in the world,
oh,
RIP,
fuck
and
yeah,
he has
dude.
one of the best jokes in the world. And it's like, you ever hear when somebody commits suicide and you have somebody go, I don't understand, and he always says, what, do you live in some type of cotton candy house? Everything work out? Is do you not understand that life only gets harder and it's horrible? And because the thing that makes life special is life is hard. and it's hard to be a human being, and you got to stick together and watch out for people to do anything in this world, no matter what you do or who you are. You gotta, you gotta dig in your feet sometimes. And you know, he didn't even get to enjoy what he did. And like I said, man, he broke his spine when he was your age. And still, most people think of most entertainers right now, your top whatever, and any, if they broke their spine or fractured any part of the back, do you think that they would go to work for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Yeah, he had to go back to work, what, 8 months? And then still gets kicked out of the Opry for missing a show? And then they make him travel to Louisiana. My grandfather's born there. He has to
And now
try to
he's all
compete.
over
He
it.
has to compete with the other music company trying to be Music City at the time, which could have been Shreveport, Louisiana, fighting WSM, and has to move his whole life because he gets fired for missing a show and he just broke his spine. Like, and oh, well, you're drunk, and oh, you're constant. It's like, and it's so messed up because to this day, he's still not even a member of the company he built. And we just posthumously reinstated Keith Whitley to the Opry, and it's real sad he died. Love brought me up by the jukebox. It's sad that he died, but we can't posthumously reinstate Hank Williams. That's always been the excuses. We do not posthumously reinstate people to the Grand Ole Opry. Yet we just did that a few weeks ago for a 90s country musician. And yes, Keith played his entire life, but those
He's
are the
good,
yeah,
but he's
and
not the first one.
I completely agree, but we can't posthumously reinstate a man that we have said. I mean, talk about bringing up my dad. Didn't he collect 1 million signatures for people to reinstate him, and they did nothing? And that was over 12 years ago. Like, and now we're posthumously reinstating people.
I mean, I think if
no,
you ask a
no,
lot of
no.
people, picture country music and
Yeah.
picture senior.
Well, he's not even on the Legends Corner mural anymore,
I
man.
know.
You go to the car. I said that in the Ray's Rowdy interview. You go to the mural, he's not there. Go try to find him. They painted it over him.
And
Like,
again,
I
but his face is all over Nashville, just
of
not
course it is.
in,
Yeah, of course.
because he still makes money for people.
Well, then he's dead.
I
Like,
know.
you can't make anything when you're dead. Like
No.
that's the thing. That's what it goes into. Is this isn't about money. This is about just put the man on the wall with his friends. Put him on the wall with the people he died for. Put him on the wall for the reason he got up every day. Because to do that hard, that rough, going through horrible physical ailments, sickness, raising a kid, and dealing with yourself, and you're kind of, the original Hellraiser, and you're handling yourself, and you grew up in Alabama, mind you, not Tennessee. Like, had a mom that he had to take care of his mom as much as she took care of him. His father wasn't there. Like, I mean, like, that's what you have to think about. Like, the human being that was my great grandfather, and that's what I live my work as. Is I do what I like to do. I don't do this because I want to please certain people. I love that people come and listen to it because they love my family. That is so wonderful, and it means a lot to me. But a lot of them come because they think they know what I'm going to do, and then it's like coming to see the freak show once, and it's like, I don't care. Like, that's not, the first 6 months I did this for fun. During COVID, released a single, did videos, and nobody knew, and I had no label, no backing, no nothing, because I didn't want to. And then this person that I will not mention, but a very rude individual, wrote something about me that was false and wrong and used Google information to not talk to me, and wrote an interview about me, and it blew up, and it gave me notoriety, and then all these people followed me in like 24 hours, and that was 3 years ago. And it's funny because I was doing this for me, and everyone showed up and be like, cool, you're doing this for us. And it's like, no. Like, I'll give you every single day, Sam. Like, when you messaged me about a shirt, I was so stoked because you were so genuine about it and very nice. And you were
I
great.
appreciate it.
Dude, age is only a number, brother. I don't mean to ask your age. It was just making a point about my great grandfather. But the thing about this is, like, it's what a person says and does. I have people that are so nice to me, and all they want me to say is stuff about my family. So they're being fake nice to me to try to get information about my bloodline. And it's like, it's just, it's very rude, but they do it where I'm a dick because I'm just like, hey, no, I'm sorry. And then it's like, well, fuck you. And it's like, okay, It's like,
Well,
why are you here? If you go to a show and you buy a ticket to like Lucas Nelson, if you buy a Lucas Nelson ticket and you go to see Lucas Nelson and you're just like, what the hell? He didn't play only Willie Nelson songs. It's like, well, yeah, because he's won lots of awards and worked hard to create his own musical genre. And
because he's
like,
very good.
yeah, and I've seen, dude, I saw him literally. His new record he just did. He played at the Nashville Palace. My partner, our mother went. They were so excited to see him. It was standing. They turned the damn air out. People were passing out in there. And he literally got through 3 songs where people are trying to yell over him, asking him to play Willie Nelson songs.
I
Yell,
mean,
and
it's
this
Luke. Like he's the most famous one.
album release show of not his first, not his second, his newest record, and people are yelling over him. And it calmly says, I will do one when I want to. And even for him, man, he started his career on a level, like I said, why I try really hard to do this my own way when it comes to family songs, man, is because there's no one that can say they've seen me do that, because I don't do that. Because if I ever do that, which is why I love working with Shooter, who did 20 years of not doing that, and now he'll do stuff like that because it's on his terms through his work. It's not to make people not yell at you at your show. Like, it's like, come on,
Right.
man. If you're going to buy a ticket to whoever it is, like, I'm not going to buy a Bobby Bear Jr. ticket and yell Bobby Bear songs in Bobby Bear Jr.'s face. And I know the man. I grew up with him. He's friends with my mom. Like, I'm not going to disrespect him like that because he's built his own career.
I mean, it happens
It's,
at Dylan shows too. People
oh,
go to
dude.
see Dylan and they fucking lose their minds because he didn't
Yeah,
play, Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. It's like
of
he's not
course.
gonna,
Yeah. Well,
like
it's like and that's the same dude. And that's the
yeah,
thing. Like, can you, and think about his kid. Think about his kid's band who did the One
I know.
Headlight song. You don't think he had a million people be like, you gonna do Hard Rain's Gonna Fall?
Like no,
Yeah,
like
it's like,
when I went to go see him, I remember being like, Dylan could get on stage and just sit there and scream at me for like an hour, and that'd be awesome. Like I whatever he gets on stage and he wants to do, because he's always done it that way. He's the kind of guy. He's the original one of them that just did what he wanted to do. He wouldn't do what you wanted him to do. He would put out shit and people would be like, "What's that?" And he'd be like, "It's my music." What do you mean?
I mean, dude, the
Even
first
going
time he
back to
played an
plugging
electric
in.
guitar, they took a fucking hatchet at Newport
Yeah.
and attacked the fucking main PA box.
And then
Like,
that became rock and roll.
yep.
What he was doing became what rock and roll was for the next 10 years,
Well, yeah, for white folks at least. But yeah, I mean, before that, we of course had,
For
Chuck
California.
Berry. Well, just like Sister Sharp, like the people that founded rock and roll, the black music scene at the time, and Bob Dylan was in love with it. That's what he wanted to do, and all these folk. Paul Simon style wool shirt hippies were mad at him because he wanted to play electric guitar, and it's like, it's the same thing these days, man. They just dress different. People are going to tell you to do something that they want you to do all the time. And like, I love so much the fans and the music I've got to make and work with, because I've got to meet such wonderful people that see my dream and care about what I'm doing. They care about the music I'm making. They care about the style that I'm doing it in, and how much I love and care about them. My new record has a song about Hank Williams. I wrote the song. I'm not trying to sound like Hank Williams, and it's not a Hank Williams cover. It's a song I wrote about him because I care
Right.
about him and he's my family. Like, it's the same as my original song. You heard Son of Sin. If you listen to the lyrics of Son of Sin, I am making fun of labels buying my family. Doesn't matter about where I've been, because I'm just another old son of sin, passed like a bottle to praise my kin. It's me. And I wrote that as a teenager when I was all the time hanging out with my grandpa and my dad. And like, because like those men are so wonderful and talented and great. And they've had to live in a shadow that doesn't exist. That's their own blood because people put them there. And that's what's messed up, man. People don't. Okay, I just saw on Whiskey Riff the other day, a bunch of people went and saw my granddad. And then they all went to Waffle House afterwards. And every single person in that Waffle House sang Family Tradition. Well, that's not a Hank Williams Sr. song, is it? So that means people went and saw him and after sang his song. And that's the thing. Like, that's what it's just like the greatest work he ever did was his work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that is, in my opinion, that's the real tradition. People don't see that. People see the tradition as, oh, you sing those songs. It's like, wow, you really don't get it. Like, because that's the problem. Is it's like, it's immediately to that. And it's like, dude, there are unbelievable musicians that have earned their work that are better than I will ever be, and they're related to no one. Like, like blood is thicker than water, but blood is also only a 5-letter word. Like, it's not like it's not that we created that power, and it's like you got to do your own thing in life in general. You can't like expect people to want to get up every day and do someone else's life. Now, sadly, I do feel like a lot of things in life, like why I connected with Outlaws and Punks growing up, is like most people buy magazines to learn how to dress, or they buy, you know, subscriptions to things to learn how to look or what they're supposed to do. And like shit, my own appearance. I've had a full on beard. I've had dreads. I've had no hair. I'm covered in tattoos. Like I never really knew what I was doing for the past like 15 years being an adult. I'm just trying to figure out like my own identity and find myself. And, like most people, it just kind of seems like it's easier to just try to be someone else, but that's why I connected so much with outlaw culture, outlaw music, that style of just be you, man, just be you and do what is right. And eventually you figure it out. Like, I mean, you don't think people didn't make fun of Johnny Paycheck and his big fucking hat and he's like 5'3",
I love that big hat.
walking around with a bigger fucking hat than everyone, and everybody's like, "Man, why don't you just get a regular hat like everybody else?" He's like, "Nah, I'm good. I got my big hat." Like, like I mean, just that's what I'm saying, man. It's that style, or like, okay, like you just made that sick shirt with fucking for duct tape, fucking all over for Blaze. When Blaze Foley got murdered, every person that loved him put a piece of duct tape on his casket before they put him down, because they called him the duct tape messiah, because that guy put duct tape on everything: his shoes, his clothes, his pants. He looked like some crazy gray studded hobo apparently, because he put so much duct tape on everything. And like, like that's not when people were making duct tape wallets in the 90s. This is back when people would say things because you're doing that. They're like, "Oh man, that poor homeless fella with that big mustache." It's like, but that's his style. That's his look. That's his identity. And like, like that's like he has more. That man probably knew more about where he was going and what he was doing than most people think in their whole lives. And he didn't even live to see the accolade he gained. And like, we talked about Gigi Allen earlier. That is a man that died very sadly in front of a bunch of people and OD'd, and people didn't even know he was dead in a room. But when he died, no one in this world could ever take from that man what he did. Because 10 hours before that, he marched down with an entourage of people, half naked, down the streets of New York and ran around like a crazy man after playing a show sold out for him, and then went and lay down on a couch and died. You don't think he woke up wherever the fuck we all go and be like, "Oh man, you must really hate that"? He's like, "Are you fucking joking me? I did exactly what I wanted, how I did it, my own fucking way, and died at a party for me." And yes, it's heartbreaking how I did, but he died at a party for him. Like that's like, and not just a party for him, a party of him of real people that fucking hung out with him, that came to see him and sold out a show at a club, and then he paraded down the streets of downtown to a party. Like,
It's a
that's just,
crazy ass video.
well, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
available.
That's what I'm saying. It's heartbreaking. But the thing about that is, think about that. That is the dream, man, and not to die. But if you had to go, you go your way. Most
Yeah, I
people die
mean,
in a hospital bed begging to no one, hoping that they can figure things out. If you can die your own way, like, even my great grandfather, it's horrible. He's 29 on New Year's Day in the back of his Cadillac. But back of a Cadillac's better than rotting in a hospital bed. He would want that. But it's just the premise of being alone, but he still
better
died
to
his,
burn out
well, he
than
died
fade
his,
away.
well, he died his brand. His brand. He never toured in buses. He toured in a vehicle. His control, his way, how he did it. And that's the thing. Like I said, people just don't even really think about that. They just think it's the songs, pretending to be someone. And it's like, think about the brands, man. That's why Hazel Atkins and Lux Interior and all these people's hero were my great granddad. It's not because he was the best country singer. It's because he did it exactly how he wanted to do it. He did it his own way. Little Richard, exact same thing. Like he did it his own way. He did it his own style. He inspired a ton of fucking people, and did it the way he thought was cool. Or like, can you even imagine like some of those bands back in the day, like when they first came out and did stuff like okay, the DC scene. You brought up DC early. Can you imagine when like Fugazi, when Ian MacKaye first started, who was just a manager at a fucking Haagen Dazs, and then started doing Minor Threat and Fugazi, and before that, people were like, oh, 80s hair metal, da, da, da. You're in the heart of the 80s, and you've got this fucking dude doing Waiting Room in a sold out fucking basketball, fucking, or like a literal basketball high school gymnasium, and there's like 400 fucking people hanging out, like, like
Oh yeah,
crazy. And at that time, nobody had ever done that. And when he was doing that, you don't think he felt like, oh man, people could totally hate this. We're just a bunch of skinny fucking assholes with
doesn't
giant ants
care.
behind us, like, but that
Well,
they didn't care. They knew what they were doing because they were doing their work, their sound.
when I was 20 years old, I um I was at this event and it was a bunch of kids playing music, right? Like children.
Yeah.
Because one of my friends had organized it, and it's on the streets of DC near Adams Morgan. And I look over to my right, and he's standing right there. It's Ian MacKaye, just like watching these kids play songs, and no one's bothering him. I don't think he knew any of the kids, right? He just knew this event, and he went and just watched these kids play
His
because
band,
that's the kind of dude he is.
yeah, his newest band is with like a bunch of kids in their 20s. Like he's still making
Yeah,
music with new
he
musicians.
just wanted to see these like
Or,
children
or if you
continue the
buy
tradition.
if you buy a Discord vinyl right now, it is still packaged and sold in the Virginia house. Just
Yep.
it's still the same place. And I have original ones that I've collected because I love the East Coast scene. I mean, I just did a Bad Brains cover. HR was always the one I connected with a little more because of like DC was a very violent, dangerous place in the 80s. And especially if you're an African American man growing up there. And he was where people were killed every day, his own people every single day. And he was told that if he did music like that, he would put himself in trouble with the police or at the scene, and they just get raided, dude. There's a reggae punk rockers. Ian and Henry and all the shit they did was way more violent and crazy, but they're gonna fuck with it with HR because it's a guy that didn't want to be subjugated and chose to be like, yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna do my record album cover is the White House blowing up with lightning, like like because but then I'm also gonna sing about love on it because that's the thing about HR. He's singing about love. He's just telling you that if you're not gonna give me love, I'm gonna eat your nose off. Like and something about that rung so true with me. Like I've been playing Sailing On with my band with every group of the 4 groups of musicians I've used in Four on the Strange Band since day one, and I love that song. And it was so cool to get to record it with Jesse Hughes from Eagles of Death Metal. That was fucking crazy. I'd never met him. He liked the song. He came and hung out. That was rad. That was one of the only things I've ever had. Like Shooter was like, oh, we could have my friend come do this, and I didn't really want to do it, but he was really fun. He was really nice. He was really hard to get there, but once he was there, he hung out with us and said some crazy shit, and we did our song. But like Sailing On, I would never try to do a cover of HR's unbelievable work that sounded just like HR's. And my favorite thing about one of the only covers I've ever recorded, ever, of any musician ever, does not sound anything like his. If you play Bad Brains Sailing On and My Sailing On beside each other, they do not sound anything. The only thing that's the same is his lyrics are his lyrics. That's the only thing. I do not add lyrics to a man's words, but like I changed the tone, I changed the timing, we added steel, like because like I would never want to be like, hey HR, I love doing your music and copying it, because like I played a festival with him last year, not this past year but the year before, at Muddy Roots, and he doesn't do Bad Brain stuff. He only does his reggae stuff now that he tours. And I got to see him for a minute, and people said, oh, people tell me you do a cover of my song, and he's like, I didn't get to see it. I'm like, oh, I didn't do it this weekend. He's like, oh, why not? I was like, I would never do that. I would never play it better because you would do it better, man. But I promise you this, I do it in my own timing, and I slowed it down. And one of my favorite things, he's like, you slowed it down? I was like, yeah, I slowed it down, man, because I'm not going to try to do it like you. He's like, everybody, when they everybody, when they do this song, they try to sing it just like me, and they can't sing like me. And I was like, I would never try to sing like you, man. So like, it's like me showing respect and getting to meet someone very quickly, preemptively, in a 3-day festival. And like, I didn't even want to play my version for someone that did it, because like my respect that I have for HR is so like, and people love that. People know that one of the songs I usually always play is that. There's not many songs you can always guarantee I'll play at one of my shows, because my song, I've done Johnny Cash covers. I've done Elton Britt covers. I've done Melvin's covers. We've done a lot of like fun, weird songs that we throw in there because my show is not a country show. It's not a punk show. It's not a metal show. It is a Southern music show. That's the best way I could describe it. It's not one thing, and it's not multiple shows. There's no break. I just, sometimes you'll play and we won't do anything heavy. And sometimes we'll play and maybe we'll do one or two because, like, I don't want to be a metal musician. I don't want to be a punk rock musician. I identify as a country singer and I always will because I'm a writer and I love the South. I've lived in Tennessee my entire life. I was born and raised here and it's in my blood. But far beyond that, I respect and I've spent a third of my life trying to learn about it the way that I think is important. And the more when I peel back layers that I fall in love with is like the people that really, really love country. I have seen kids in the gutter covered in tattoos, covered in patches and scabs, and they're playing music that no great country artist wouldn't stop and listen to. And they're playing their songs and they love their songs, and like, I've seen people that have that love and the same for my family. Just, those are things that bring tears to my eyes to think like people that have lost everyone in their life, but they have these songs to give them comfort. And like, that's cooler to me than any legacy that's ever existed. If I could make one song, and I got to tell HR that, HR, I had hard days in my life, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, like, this song's about a girl that hurt you, and all his songs are pretty aggressive, pretty in your face, pretty like kind of just fuck you esque. But that song, if you listen to the lyrics, Sailing On, and I've had a lot of people say that about our cover, and I love that. Is just I can hear what he's saying. It's like, yeah, I always knew what he was saying because I grew up listening to punk and metal music, so I can I can hear it, But like, you don't want me anymore, so I'll just walk right out that door. Play the game right from the start. I trust you, and you used me, and now my heart is torn apart. Like, it doesn't sound like Bad Brains, but that's the lyrics to Sailing On,
It sounds like an old country song.
and that's the lyrics to Sailing On.
Yeah.
That's HR, an Afro hardcore reggae punk rock independent man. That's his lyrics, and he, and if you just the lyrics, you're right. That's a country song, man. And that's the older and Melvins. Love the Melvins. One thing, because we do have a soft tech on bass cab on the stage usually. I get to put steel on Melvin songs when we do fun weird covers and stuff, and like that's the shit that I love to do, man. But playing our songs, we just did a whole record. We just had a whole brand new record come out that's all about my dog, and I love my dog. She's 14. She's a crazy, dirty, rowdy old girl, and it's never been easy to raise her because nothing in life's easy like that, And if you have something you really love and care about, sometimes you got to fight for her. And every time I needed someone, she's been there for me. And this whole record kind of was like, it made me think about like she's still here. I still get to hang out with her every day, and like it amazes me. I get to have a vinyl record that I can put on, and the first thing I hear is my dog. And
Well, when I was designing the shirt, one of the things you were like was like, "Oh, I kind of want that dog on there."
yeah,
That was
well,
I was like,
it,
okay.
it, it's not unknown. Like me and my father are weird dog people. Our dogs are our family. Like, and they are for me. Like, my dog is my best friend, and a lot of people can say that, but like I don't think about it as a dog being important in my world. The day I chose to take care of her, every day that's special for her in her entire life is because I get to do that for her. Because if I don't, and she sits in a house, that's my fault. Like, I'm her entire world. And like, I'd probably be dead without her, man. There's days I've been wild and made mistakes and I could have partied too hard or done, but every night I had to come home and feed my dog. And that's what stopped me from when I was being an idiot when I was younger, dying in a bathroom or having anything else happen. Is like, I had to come home and take care of my dog. And for a while I was trying to work in the education field, and like I was still a punk rock kid and a traveler, and people were like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're not like those people. Because I didn't want to be one of those people. I wanted to be one of us, but be one of those people. And it was hard because sadly, this is a scene where Tennessee is very judgmental. I love Tennessee very much, and I will always live here. This is my home. But there's a lot of obstruction here if you don't look or act a certain way. And you know, that for me was always kind of blending those cultures. I wanted to be that dirty punk, but I still wanted to be that Tennessee kid that loved the country music of this town and just the scene here. I mean, you know, we just got liquor on Sundays like 3 years ago. I
First
mean,
time I was there, I remember being
yeah,
like, "What
buddy,
the
liquor on
fuck?"
Sundays. We didn't even have most major holidays. You couldn't buy booze. You couldn't even buy a drink on Fourth of July till like 5 years ago. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I
like
found that out in college. We were
Tennessee.
down there.
Yeah, man, Tennessee's got some wild rules, man. But I love this place, and like the biggest goal I do is people come to see my show and they're like, oh, well, what are you gonna do? I'm like, well, I'm gonna play some country songs. I'm gonna play these new songs I just made with my friend Shooter Jennings about my dog. I'm gonna play some songs about my grandpa, and then we're gonna do some hardcore weird blended Southern country shit that's also a little punk, you know, because you know it's just I don't like genre names. I don't. I just I'm not a fan of that. I feel like that's all companies that own hardworking musicians, and if you don't fit into one, you don't fit into any. You know, and that's hard because a lot of that seems to be like the trend is picking and choosing what they want to make money on. But you know, I just like to see punk kids and cowboys, and sometimes weird metal kids, sometimes a juggalo or two, sometimes ranch hands, sometimes old folks, sometimes people with their children come and see me play. Because the big thing about my show is everyone is welcome. I've had some unbelievable experiences where I've had people come to my shows that are people fighting to be able to be themselves in our country. And they said I'm the only member of my family that they felt safe to go to my show, and that breaks my heart because my family aren't bigots and my family are not gatekeepers. But sadly, there are fans and people and scenes of country where everyone ain't welcome. And that's the one way I'd get off a stage and take someone down in my life, and it's always been that way. Is if you don't treat people like people, you know, everybody deserves to be there. Everybody deserves to enjoy music. If you want to go buy a ticket and go to a show, you should not feel like you don't need to. And you know, I think that's the most outlaw thing I do. When people say I'm an outlaw, is because like that is what I viciously fight for. If I am never on a CMA anything, I don't give a damn if it means I have to support one group of people and make everyone else I care about feel isolated. You know, if I got to be on a Heavy Hammer magazine but I had to say fuck country, I would never be on fucking Heavy Hammer because I don't care about that. Because if I have to throw mud at one of the things I love, it doesn't make it worth it to me. You know, I want to do this and have everyone get along with each other, and that ain't gonna fucking happen, but I can try. And that's kind of like, for me, like, that's the shit that I do like, about punk so much is like hard times in my youth when I was a kid, man. And like, I was just a weird little country kid, but like those shows, man, complete strangers, shoulder and shoulder, other kids that were unwanted or misunderstood or didn't belong. And we were a family. We were people that cared about each other and watched out for each other. And, you know, like that's the stuff that taught me that I did want to make music because music is hard. Music is not an easy way to make money. There's a lot of expectations and things you have to do to make it work. But you meet these people that will travel 10 hours to see you, pay $15 ticket and come and see you, and you're nobody. And sometimes you're playing for 10 people, but one of them 10 people drove 3 states away to come see you. And sometimes you got 500 there. And sometimes when there's 500 people there, it doesn't mean as much as that day you played for 10 and you met that one person that's like, you saved me on the day I needed it. And I've had people say that to me, which blows my mind. You know, I ain't made a bunch of music yet. I love making music. I'm recording a new solo thing I'm doing right now. You know, we just released our new record a few weeks ago for Hangdog. You know, we have a whole nother, you know, I hope next year I'm hoping to record like 2 different records, release my solo stuff and get ready to release the next band thing hopefully in the following year. But, you know, that's just a lot of work and time, but it's not work when you're having fun doing it, you know. And one thing I've really enjoyed is making people come together that I don't think would ever do that, you know. And that's what I've always really connected with. Those are the parts that I fight with in country. I love country very much, but there is a part of country that hurts people, and that sucks because country saved my life too, just as much as punk rock music did. But
That's
They're
how I mean, I got nothing to add to that. That sums up what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Like
because you
throwing
hate
all
to
my
pick and
shit
choose.
together.
Yeah, you hate to pick and choose, but you
I
want.
can't.
Yeah, you can't. You just have to know what you support and stick hard into what you are and show
Well,
people like, yeah, I love this shit. But at the same time, it's like, you bet I do this way, my way. And, like, yes, it's this, but it's me. It's
I
not
mean,
that. It's me now,
I've
like,
had people argue with me,
ugh,
and be like talking, like, well, you should because I'm a potential customer. You
yeah.
shouldn't, and I'm like, oh, I don't care about
Yeah,
you, cuz.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the thing. You do this for you. It's like people think you do this to bend the knee to someone. And I've had people say, "Well, what if I paid you $200 to sing a Hank Williams song?" I was like, "Well, you can keep your $200, buddy. You could offer me 2 million, but my soul isn't for sale. You can't buy me." Or I love when people are like, "So you never did music till your late 20s?" And it's like, "No, buddy. I did music my whole life. I just didn't let people know because it was for me. Like
Yeah.
it was for me." Because it would be
There's a
it would well
Rick Rubin quote.
tell me, let me hear it.
Basically, I'm gonna fuck it up, but it's along the lines of the audience only comes into consideration after the art's completed.
Yes. I completely agree with that. There's an interview he did a couple of years ago that blew me away. It's that CNN guy, that short-haired, white-haired guy that interviews
Anderson
everybody.
Cooper.
Anderson Cooper, and I love it. He's like, "So, you're a master engineer?" He's like, "Not really." He's like, "Well, you got to play at least 5 or 6 instruments." He's like, "No,
Oh yeah.
I can barely play anything." And he's like, "So what do you do?" He's like, "I trust in my taste and the belief an artist can find inside themselves and what I can help people see that they haven't seen." Like, and like
A lot of people think he
it
doesn't do
sounds so
anything.
pretentious. It sounds so pretentious, but at the end of the day, yes, he has made about 20 bad records, but he's also made about 120 great ones. Like, yes, he made Metallica's worst record ever, but he also made some of the best rap records. And before he was a producer, he's the reason rap became a major genre. Like, I mean, the dude has believed in people's dreams for almost 40 years. And I love his confidence in that because, like, I read he has a book about that. It's this little white book. I actually bought it at the Rock and Roll
Sitting
Hall of
right
Fame.
there.
Yeah, I bought it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a few years ago. I was there and I was like, oh shit, it's this book. And yeah, it's just very real. And it's like, it's just do this for you. Because, like, I think if I had ever done this, not for me, all the love we've been given, like, I can't believe that over 700,000 people have listened to Son of Sin. That's crazy to me. The beginning and end of that song were done in a closet on like an iPhone 8. Like, I mean, literally, man, just because I wanted it to sound the right way. Like, like, that's like, it means so much to me that many people have heard that song, and it has nothing to do with like ego, or it's that song is something I care about, and the words in that song mean a lot to me. And like, I have expressed my feelings, and a lot of people have listened to it. But like you said, you do it for you. I think maybe only 20% of them have actually listened to it. Now, all 700 and something thousand have, but maybe 20% have actually listened, because those people are like, I love Son of Sin. So when are you going to do Hank 3 covers? And it's like, okay, so you didn't listen to Son of Sin at all. Like, because if you write out the lyrics, like if you write out the lyrics of that song and be like, oh, I get it. Like, I very clearly say what I'm doing in there. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
First time through, I was
yeah.
like,
I
oh
mean,
yeah, all
yeah.
right.
Well, yeah. Like I'm not sugarcoating it, and people are like, "Well, that's fucked up, man. You sold yourself as Hank Four, and I came here and don't see no Hank covers." I'm like, I never sold myself as Hank Four, sir. You're the one that chose to put that name there. I never did that. Like, like, and people do that. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. I have people that have tried to like kick my ass and get weird, and it's like, cool, man, I ain't scared of you. If you think that's gonna like make me do it, I don't, it's like, I love your family, but man, I want to kill you because you don't want to pretend to be your family. And it's like, okay. It's like, I'm sure people wanted to kill him too, but he figured it out. I'm gonna figure it out too. Like, I mean,
You don't
it's
got to
just,
pretend to be who you
yeah,
are.
yeah, I am who I am, and it's so cool. I've met so many good old, like, especially, like, I've met some real shit kickers, some real outlaw cowboys that love what I do, and I'm so touched that they like it because I think they're way cooler than me. Like, like, I've met people that are not even musicians, man. I'm just talking just real fucking people. Like, play in places like, you play in Butte, Montana, you go to Whitefish, Montana, you meet these real fucking cowboys. Like, I love what you're doing, man. I'm playing my metal stuff in my country, and I'm like, Sick. You like, yeah, yeah. Like, I just did a show at the Remington Bar in Whitefish like a few days before Under the Big Sky. And yeah, man, we it was great. I was on tour of the goddamn Gallows, and all these country folks are at the show, and they're like, really liked all of it. Heavy stuff, country stuff. I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like, and like weren't asking me to do something, weren't expecting me to be somewhere. And it's so funny. Like the longer you do it, the more you realize, like, I'm so lucky that I can do it at all, but I'm also really conscious of what I'm doing because it does matter. Because like what I'm doing represents where I come from, represents my family, and like that's why I also don't ever get up there and not try to give the best show I've ever given. If I'm sick, if I'm tired, if I'm 20 shows in, most time I tour, I do 30 to 40 shows on the road at a time. This year alone, I toured from March until literally about 3 weeks ago. I was on the road all year. I was maybe home a month from March to November. And like, no matter what, I give every inch of it because when I look out there, I see all the people I love and respect in music, not just Hank Williams. I see Blaze Foley, I see Towns Van Zandt, I see HR, I see Ian MacKaye, I see all those people. I see those people that define me. I see fucking Ginger Baker. I mean, I see musicians that died, and some people are like, oh man, what a mess of a person. It's like, yeah, man, and look at the music they made. Like, look at Charlie Parker. The man was such a serious heroin addict. He could barely walk, and look at the music he made. Like, just look at these, and same in Outlaw. Like, there are so many unbelievable country artists, and like they used to duct tape George Jones's legs straight, and like the man had such a beautiful voice, and he played such great songs, and at the same time he was trying to handle being himself. Like, and I think there's nothing more country or outlaw than that. Is like, like, do you like yourself? And if you don't, why wouldn't you? And it's like, I love when people try to like say a compliment, but they're actually talking shit, where they're like, oh yeah, Waylon Jennings, man, how the hell did that guy make it work? It's like, well, I'm pretty sure he did, man. He worked real hard and he lived longer than half them folks.
He was really good and he was handsome.
Well, and he started as a fucking bass player for Buddy Holly, and he also, was a man that it's
There's a lot of talent.
one of the first country musicians to be welcomed on a Native American reservation to play music. One of the very first to be welcomed to play on the property. And things that, like, he gained the respect of entire leagues of people. But as a man, dude, that guy barely survived for himself for 20 entire years. The man had kids before he was 20. The man had multiple kids before he was 20, and that's not talking Jesse. That's his first wife. I mean, he's a hard-working, rootin' tootin' man that, had one leg smarter than the other from a terrible accident as a kid, and like, and fought through all that. And like the dude, there's so many pictures you see of him, and he's just like, he's just barely, but he's doing it all for y'all, like, and that's the thing that, like, that's what I try to make people think about Hank Williams. Same thing, and they're like, oh well, he looks so great. It's like, man, well, some people can look like they're real good on the inside, they're falling apart, and some people are just on the outside. They're like, I'm just gonna let you see it all. I'm gonna let you see, like, all of it, And I think my grandpa's done really good at that. He's just gonna show you what's happening, and then walks out there with a dip cup and still does a fucking better show than most people. So that's just
Good.
be yourself, and have fun, and do it your own brand. Make it your own sound, make it your own way. And if you don't, that's great. But why would you do it any other way, man? For me, like, I could not do this if I didn't love it. I would straight up pull a Cat Stevens. If I did this and had a bunch of money and hated it, I would just leave, man. Like, money is cool. That is not my goal here. Sure, yeah, it keeps my house. And like, it's cool that the past few years, like, my actual job is touring full time, which is amazing. It's a blessing. It's a gift. I've worked really hard to make that happen. But like, it's not good money. It's just a living wage. If the money was ever super cool, that's awesome. But I don't even think people that are like that, that's not why you do it. You know what I mean? Like, and if it is, like, those are the ones that usually people can see that. You can kind of see the people or hear the people that care about the money more than the music. And it sucks, that's the thing, but you know how it goes. Like, it's just, some people see a paycheck. For me, like, I still feel like I'm teaching, man. I might have quit doing that a long time ago, but like I'm trying to teach people about the shit I care about, and like like maybe go home and give your dog that extra bone because even though it might bark and piss on your floor or tear up your couch, I just made a record. Just be like, just be a little nicer to that critter because it ain't gonna live as long as you do, Or I have a whole song about borrowing money from people on the new record. IOU. It's just me being like, and that's not a joke. Like I've had hard days, man, where I had nothing, and like I've spent it all on just paying my bills and sitting on my floor, not knowing what to do. And that one person meant to buy a beer and sit there with me to just hear me bitch about it for 10 minutes saved my life, and that I can make a song about it. And already that record just came out and I've had people be like, man, I've been there. And I was like, I like to play the hand raising game in my shows sometimes. And I like to talk to the crowd. Some people don't get that and they yell at me, which I find fucking rude. But I grew up with John Prine. I love talking to the music. I love talking to people when I play. And I like being like, who's broke? And, have anybody ever been broke? And everybody raises their hand, laugh, joke. And it's like, well, this one goes out to you guys. And, I know if you can't pay it back in this world, you'll pay it back in the next. And, like this things people can relate to, man, and things I care about. Like, who knows? People ask me, are you going to make a whole metal record or just country? Now you did this country record. It's like, well, man, the reason I did my first record is a bunch of sounds is because I can do anything I want. And no one can ever say, well, why would you do that? That's not country. And it's like, well, the first record was a lot. So
Yeah.
I want to make country. I'm a country artist. That's what I care about. That's what I live for. I just had to get out the years of my wildness to show like, hey, this is me. I just really love country music, like, and that's just where I come to it, man. Like, there's times I've been offered to do things that are a little more proper country or things like this, and they'll try to rope in and maybe you could do this one thing, and it's like if I don't think it's on brand with me, I just won't do it. And it's not in like a disrespect way. It's more in like if I don't think it's 100% Coleman, I can't do it. And that's just like the one thing I take advice from Hank Williams, even though I can never talk to him, is he made a lot of decisions he didn't get to make for himself. And when I feel like someone's making a decision for me, I usually back out of it just because it's like I have to want to do it too. Like, and same, man, like I've had people ask to make shirts and they're like, you're going to love it. It's going to say Hank 4. And it's like, he's like,
Bro, you said yes instantly
yeah,
to me.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
Because I knew that you weren't going to. If I have one gift in this world, I'm pretty good at telling bullshit. Or people that are full of it. And, what you've done, you show that you care about these people. You care about these scenes. Like you care about that genre and that style. And I never thought it would kind of be in danger. But, like in the past 10 years, it's kind of crazy. Like I was worried the 80s, 90s outlaw country scene was not going to be around in country music anymore. Like it's one of those things where I love that. That's what I grew up on. And, like it's hard. Like it's really cool to see country still be irrelevant, still make a bunch of money, still be a top selling genre. But then a lot of the people that I wish were there don't get to be at those ceremonies or, get what they deserve. And what you're
I think
doing,
we're
man.
coming back a little. We're
Yeah.
definitely coming. I
Well,
mean,
you
man, like
are.
when I
Like I
started
said,
my thing,
what you're doing, man, what you're doing shows that. Like, I love that you got 100,000 people, man, that like what you're doing. Like, and it's all based on that. And I was so flattered. I was amazed you wanted to do a fucking shirt because I'm fucking 32 and most of the dudes you do are dead or legends. I am not a legend.
well, what I tell
And
you, I
I am
wanted to
very
make a
much
shirt
alive.
for someone that was, yeah, I wanted to do something for someone
Yeah.
that was alive because, like,
Yeah.
it's cool to always be like, man, I love, Waylon Jennings or something, and I do, I love Johnny Paycheck. I'm thrilled that I have the rights to his stuff, right?
That's awesome.
Because
Yeah, when you
I've
told me
listened to
that,
him.
I was like, "Fuck yeah, you do, dude. That's awesome."
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I mean,
great, but you're not done yet.
no, man, I'm just
Your
getting
story
started.
hasn't been written, and I mean, like,
I just
aside
don't
from
even think I'm
that,
cool enough to get a T-shirt, but I'm stoked you wanted to do one.
well,
Like I
I've
said,
had
we
Hang
were
Dog
talking
stuck
about,
in my head for 3 fucking weeks.
dude. I'm so glad you like Hangdog, man. Thank you. And like, that's the cover is the Hanged Man. I'm sure if you know tarot, That's
Yeah.
yeah, and the joke there is like I was like, man, it's supposed to represent a time in your life where you take longer to do something, but you take longer to do something because you want to do it right. And
It took 4 years for me to figure out what I was doing with any
yeah,
of this.
dude, yeah, and like that's why when it comes to dog, it comes back to the dog. I've always called Piper hang dog, and that's because that's a I'm sure it's a redneck word. Hang dog is like that hang dog expression. If you're real sad or you look like you've had a shitty day, you got a hang dog expression on. And this dog, I mean, she's right there. Piper, are you sleeping? She's right there. I mean, this dog that sits at my feet all day. She has stared at me on my worst days, man. Day I quit teaching, day I fucking lost all my money, day I like lost my best friends, and like just to sit there and deal with it. And I was like, man, that poor girl, that poor bitch, having to deal with my crazy country ass my whole life. I mean, it's just one of those things, man, where I do feel like people used to say I was an outlaw musician, and last year for Ameripolitan, I was nominated as Outlaw Male of the Year with my friend Scott Byram, Vincent Neil Emerson, Willie Carlisle, and I was like, "What the fuck? I'm not an outlaw!" And oh my god, people are going to get mad at me because I'm not an outlaw, And then I kind of realized I am an outlaw. And like when you reached out, you saying you're an outlaw, man. We're doing things the right way, outlaw. There is what people think outlaws are, and there are actually what outlaws are. And like that's at first I didn't like that label, and now I've come into it where I'm like, yeah, the one genre I don't feel super gross about is I'm an outlaw musician, like because I do support, dude. I mean, I have a whole song on the new record about a homeless person. Nesquin Ranger is about a hobo I met on a beach that all day he just smiled and waved at people in the rain and lightning. Didn't take a dollar from anyone, didn't yell at anyone, and I had to walk up to this guy and I made him take money from me. And I think I'm the one person that got him to take money all day. And just asked him, like, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing out here? And he's like, oh, I'm just doing my job. Like, and his job is to smile and wave at people all day. And I was like, this man has his life more figured out than I do. And this is a man that shits in a bucket on the side of the beach in the rain, and he has a happier disposition than I have in my whole life. And like the unwanted ones, man, nobody's unwanted. And I have a song on my first record about that, Broken Pieces. I wrote that with my friend Jamie Wyatt, and that was a wonderful experience. She's one of my favorite musicians. She also has recorded with Shooter.
Big fan.
Yeah, love her, man. She's the best. She lives in Nashville now, and
I get to see her when I'm down there. We're going a
dude,
day early just because she's playing at the basement.
she kills it, man.
I
And
know.
my biggest achievement of Southern Circus, even though everybody like loves the heavy stuff, was that I got to get Jamie Wyatt on that, and we did that just as homies and friends, man. Like that was one of my greatest. Like I was so excited, and it's so funny because like my friend who recorded the first record with me, he was like, "Who's this?" I'm like, just don't worry about it, man. She's the best. She's gonna
I
come in
saw
here
her
and kill
open
it.
for Charlie Crockett at the Southgate House
Oh
like
yeah,
5 years ago or something. And I just remember me and my buddies were like, what the fuck? Who is this?
oh yeah.
You
Rattlesnake
know?
girl, man. Fucking rattlesnake girl, man. She's the fucking best. Like she makes me laugh more than most, and she loves baseball, and she's funny as hell. And yeah, man, she's as crazy as I am. But yeah, Broken Pieces. What I was saying is like that was one of those things that I wrote and then didn't realize I kind of wrote a song about being an outlaw. It's like tell someone from day one that you're fucking crazy. Tell them that it's not gonna be great all the time. I got these big old problems, and like if they can manage that from day one, they might be able to stick around. I feel like a lot of people try to hide that part of themselves from people, and then it comes out and people leave. And it's like it's just tell them you're a fucking nutbag. And me and Jamie both agreed. They're like, this is we can connect here, And I was like, fuck yeah, man. And that's just like the broken ones aren't broken, man. Uh, it's those cracks that make things real special. Even the Mona Lisa's got cracks. People have fallen and lost everything and become the greatest after that. Danny Trejo was a felon for a bank robbery, spent 20 years in prison, and then becomes a famous actor, that household name. Like there are people. I mean, one of my personal favorites, Merle Haggard, prisoner, locked away, and saw Mr. Blue Suede Shoes himself perform in prison. He's like, I'll see you out there one day. He's like, oh, I'm sure you will. 10 years later, guess who's right beside him? Mr. fucking Mr. fucking Merle Haggard by Mr. Blue Suede Shoes. Like, Okie from Muskogee. Like, I
Yeah,
believe there's a lot of like people celebrate like comeback felons and stuff, but in real life you don't treat felons better. Like, or you don't treat people that have had bad things happen and overcome stuff better in real life. And it's like I do feel really lucky about that with the band, and what I've done is like I've met a lot of outlaws that are actually, you wouldn't think them. They're the most welcoming, loving, accepting people of anybody, but you guys got to get over their rough, their gruff exterior. And I didn't think that was the thing when I started this. I thought I'd maybe have like the alt country kids, maybe the punk rock kids, but a lot of them old outlaw guys like my stuff, and it means a lot to me. It really does. It means a fuck ton because I don't even know half the time what I'm doing, but I'm having fun doing it. And, it was amazing to have two records in the can in 2 years, a record a year. I
it's
feel so
Charlie
lucky.
Crockett.
Fuck, dude, no, don't even put that curse on me. That dude's doing like two or three a year. I can't,
That's
I
what I'm
wish.
saying.
I
You gotta
wish,
do covers, original covers.
dude. I love his record. He did the Songs of the Plains, where he's just
Hmm.
fucking playing banjo in the fucking woods with a recorder in front of him. Like, we have a guy that does that here in Nashville area for Anti-Corp Records called the Magnolia Sessions, and they're amazing. The banjo player from Devil Makes Three did one. My friend Ivan McLeod did one. There's some really cool musicians that have done those, and those are sick. And that's kind of in that vibe with Charlie Crockett. I'd like to do a live record like that eventually. That'd be cool to get like a double in a year. Maybe one day we'll get to play somewhere cool or do something like that. I think that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
But
man. I mean, you're still just at the beginning. We're
oh, dude,
what,
yeah.
3 years in?
I mean,
I mean,
4 years,
you got a lot.
because we had a single for a whole year before the record came out. Because when I met Shooter, I was going to self-release my first album, and he made me wait to get like same day vinyl and all that stuff and media, and
Oh my God,
so
it's almost 2024.
yeah. So I've been working on this since 2020. So yeah,
Yeah,
man, and like I've had releases in 21, 22, and 23, which has been very cool. Like the past 3 years, I've had musical releases, and the next year I'm going to have a single release, a solo release, which is going to have my band on it, but it's a different entity. It's just Coleman. It's stuff I've wanted to release for years, and I'm stoked on that. We did a couple like that on like The Bleed on my new record, or Train on my first record. Like all the songs kind of start with me and a guitar, and I'm very hands-on with songwriting, and then like to fill a sound, I love to kind of play off of the people I'm playing with, and we find what makes it the song.
I do. Well, I'm gonna have to cut you off because Google Meet's gonna kick us out.
Oh, is it?
It's gonna stop recording in a minute.
Oh, damn. Well, that was a fun. You did it. Very jump right in, Rogan-esque. There you go.
Hey, it's how it goes. It's conversation, not an interview, because I don't like interviews.
I understand. I hate them. So fuck yeah, dude. I'm happy to do this with you. Thank you, Sam. And I'm stoked to fucking rock the new Hangdog shirt. And I'm gonna have to bust out a bunch of my Live Forever, Die Whenever gear. Thank you for the support and doing what you've done for us and helping more people see Hangdog and Four in the Strange Band, dude. Thank you.
Bro, I appreciate you doing this for me too.
Fuck
Hang
yeah.
on.